All right, what's up, guys? You might be looking, hey, where's Mike? He's not here today. It is me, Nate, and Josh Hoffspur over here. Very excited to be on the channel with you, Hoff. How you doing, man?
I'm pretty good. Can't complain. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. It's a nice Wednesday night, and we get to talk about some college football players on this channel, which we do sometimes, around draft time. We're talking about the 25 rookies. We just did a rookie mock draft just last week, but we're looking ahead of the game right now. We're trying to be ahead. We're talking a Devy mock draft tonight. That means we're talking about 2026 players, 2027 players. We're even talking about 2028 players. We got new recruits coming into the college ranks. And oh my gosh, we got, at least one, maybe two of them in this mock draft tonight. So it's exciting. We haven't seen some of these guys even hit the field yet. And we're already talking about them being first round picks in our Devy mock. Hoff, before we get started, how do you approach Devy?
I try. Let's be honest. There's a lot of helmet scouting in it. I try to avoid that, but it's just natural. It happens. A lot of players come from big programs. A lot of NFL productive fantasy players come from big programs, and you'll see that again as we go through the names. All big schools.
Yep.
It's very rare that your G5 guys make it and make a name for themselves, become a fantasy mainstay. So it doesn't sound great. I know it's not what you want to hear, but that's where I start.
Yeah, definitely, especially with the transfer portal now too. The guys who do well in the G5, they transfer up into, we used to call it the Power 5. Some people call it the Power 4. Now we're almost saying like it's the Power 2 at this point. College football is a little chaotic, but we both love it, don't we?
Yes. Oh yeah. I can't wait. I can't wait for this draft. I can't wait for this season.
Yeah, me too, man. I'm always excited to look ahead. Real quick before we get into it, want to plug. If you go over to dynastyrewind.com, you can see my 2026 sneak peek at the quarterback class. That's going to be a series, so we'll be seeing running backs, wide receivers, tight ends come out as well over the next coming weeks. And also want to point out, we're doing the first round here. If you want to listen to the second round, Josh and I are going to be doing that after this, but it's going to be a Patreon exclusive, so make sure you go check out our Patreon for the time being, or if you go to the dynastyrewind.com, you can log in there as well and get the membership. So make sure you check out the website, and while you're over there, check out the articles, check out everything we have to offer. And of course, Hoff, you also do a college football podcast for our members, right?
I do, called the Freshman 15. Just started putting out episodes a few weeks ago, covering basics of like C2C, which is my favorite format. So you get your college and your NFL mixed together. And right now I'm covering my top 15 players at each position, according to C2C ranks as well. Awesome,
man. I love it. I love the Devy. I love the C2C. It's always fun getting to watch college football, and it's a really good sport to get into. If you're not already watching college football, this is the great time to get into it. But without further ado, we've talked too much. Let's go ahead and talk about this Devy mock we got up at the 101. Hoff, I gave you the 101. I didn't want to make the pick, even though it was super chalk. But tell us about who you picked at the 101.
Yeah, it's anyone. You could have asked 100 fantasy people who their 101 Devy 101 is. You'll probably get 100 people saying Jeremiah Smith for wide receiver, Ohio State. Just an incredible football player, arguably the best player in college football. I can see it an argument against, but the best wide receiver in college football, hands down. He can't come out in the draft for a couple years, but that doesn't diminish his value at all. He's just an incredible athlete. He had over 1,300 yards as a freshman, 15 touchdowns, and there's no reason to think that he's going to stagnate or even get worse. He's just, I want him on my NFL team now.
I mean, he looks like he can play right now. I don't know if you have his height and weight pulled up, but I believe it's like 6'3", like 215 already. He looks like an NFL player.
Yep. Yeah, he came in looking like a grown man, and he was 18, I think, or 17 or 18, and Ohio State has a very robust weight program. They call it Body by Marotti. The strength coach is Mickey Marotti. And I'm sure that I don't know if they want him to get bigger, but it certainly is possible. Just physicality. He is not afraid to face any defensive back in the country, and he's just unreal to watch him play football.
Yeah, I remember being excited about Marvin Harrison Jr. at Ohio State, but Jeremiah Smith might just be on a different level, honestly.
Yeah, and that's a crazy thing to say because we loved Marvin Harrison Jr. and Jeremiah Smith could be, just like you said, could be even better.
Yep. Awesome. All right. Well, Hoff, I had the 102. I didn't have the chalk pick, but I still kind of made a chalk pick here. I went with Arch Manning from Texas. Now, we haven't really seen a lot of Arch on the field. Last year, as a redshirt freshman, he had 939 yards and 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in a couple games where Quinn Ewers was hurt, where he started in a couple, end of the game kind of play as well. But what I've seen from Arch in the little bit of time that we've seen from him, he's a stud. And he came in as one of the highest recruits coming out of high school, being that 5-star, being one of the top quarterbacks in his recruiting class, which actually had a lot of really good quarterbacks in that class. And he went to Texas, which right now is back. Texas is back, and that program is built. They got wide receiver talent there. They got some young guys that we're pretty excited about. And I think this is the year that we're going to really see that true breakout from Arch Manning. I'm excited about what he can do with his arm. He's got a beautiful release. He already looks very comfortable in the pocket with that offense. Steve Sarkisian, of course, great offensive mind. And what makes Arch Manning so special is he doesn't look like Peyton or Eli out there. He's got that rushing ability. Last year, 108 yards. And this, of course, college football, they do count sacks against the rushing total, which I don't know why we still do that. We got to figure that out at some point. But 4 touchdowns, and this guy can definitely run. He had, I can't remember what the longest play that he had, but he had a long run for a touchdown that last season. So this guy is a dual threat. He's got a great arm, great control of the offense, and a great situation, to build that draft stock. And while he is eligible in 2026, as I said, he's a redshirt sophomore this year. I don't think there's any chance he comes out this next year. I think he's going to be a 2027 guy. Him, Eli, Payton, everyone's talked about, they want him to be in college for the full college experience. I don't think he's going to wait till 2028, but I think 2027 is the draft class that we can expect him to come out.
Yeah, I think so. And I know finances sometimes play into that. His last name's Manning. He's okay.
I think he's good. He's making plenty of money at Texas as well.
Yep.
We were just talking, a couple months ago about how Quinn Ewers could have made more money at Texas. Right. He wouldn't have been at Texas because Arch Manning's there.
Yeah.
So far we have 227 draft class guys off the board. I think it's exciting if you go get some 2027 draft picks right now. Go ahead and get them before they get too hot. But I think a lot of people are catching on.
Yes. It's just stock up on 27 while you can. A lot of our we'll get into some 26 guys real soon.
Real soon. All right. Hoff, tell us about. We got a 26 guy, the top guy from the 26 class in our draft. Who'd you pick here?
He's my QB1 in C2C and my Devy QB1 as well. LaNorris Sellers from South Carolina. Just watching him as a redshirt freshman last year, command that offense and get better as the year went on. And he played well in the SEC against some of the better defenses in the country. And he also has the ability. He's a dual threat and he's really good. I see a lot of, I know you've compared him to Lamar Jackson, a beefier Lamar Jackson. Yeah. I see some Cam Newton in there as well, which if I can get Cam Newton at the 103, yes, thank you, please.
Yeah, I love this pick. I was kind of upset that you made this pick so early because I was going to have him on my board coming off pretty soon here. And I love this being your quarterback 1. I love this pick so early. I think some other people, have him as the quarterback 4, quarterback 5, quarterback 6 in next year's class. And every time I read about him, it's like, well, if he can get better, it's like he's already really good. The progression that we saw last year was already so impressive that, of course, we need to see him continue to improve. But I think you're kind of selling him short if you're like, yeah, he needs to improve as a passer if we want to take him seriously. Like he improved a lot as a passer, and he's already pretty good at that.
Yeah, his passing, I mean, he's got the arm strength to make all of the NFL throws. I think he's a little timid sometimes on like fitting a ball into tight windows, but again, that'll come with time. He still has at least one more year of college ball, and I'm sure whoever drafts him will develop him in that aspect as well.
Yeah, last year was his first year starting, so excited to see year 2 of LaNorris Sellers.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, back at the 104, I'm picking here at the 104, and we're back to the 2027 class. Hoff, it's stacked in that class. We're so excited. I know it's always like, oh, next year's class is going to be better. Well, now it's 2 years down the road.
Yep.
I had to pick a guy that absolutely dominated the SEC as a 17-year-old to start the season, and that's Ryan Williams, wide receiver out of Alabama. Despite a leaner frame, he's going to get those Devonta Smith comps. This guy just took over the Alabama wide receiver room last year. Like I said, as a 17-year-old true freshman. And I mean, he had one of the plays of the year against Georgia.
Yeah.
Great stats. So I'm pulling them up here. We got 48 receptions, 865 yards, and 8 touchdowns. That's 18 yards per reception. And year 2 of Kalen DeBoer. I believe Ty Simpson's going to be the starter there. And by then year 3 for Ryan Williams, who'll likely have Keelon Russell, who we might be talking about a little bit later, who's also a really high recruit. So, he's going to have good quarterback play there, and he's going to continue to lead that room and get the spotlight. And this is a guy that does a lot after the catch. He's really good at the catch point as well, despite the leaner frame, coming in at 6 foot, 175 pounds. He plays a lot bigger than he is. And, if it wasn't for Jeremiyah Smith, Ryan Williams might be the guy that we're talking about as the wide receiver 1 in all of college football right now.
Oh yeah, he's another incredible. Last year's freshman wide receiver class was just unreal. Because I know there's more coming. Just wait. but you're talking about Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams at the top of the class. Like those guys are, I'll say generational. Why not? They're incredible, man. Like, and it's been a couple years since we've had that dominant Alabama wide receiver, and now under Kalen DeBoer, like I'm ready. I'm ready for him to hit the NFL.
Yeah, man. Well, it's exciting. We're going to go to a different class now. All right. I was a little surprised at this pick, to be honest, but I know you have your hands in C2C. You're thinking about the college football aspect as well. Tell me about your 105 here, Hoff.
105, I dipped in to the 2028 draft class. We're going with the deep cut here. Well, honestly, after this season, it may not seem like a deep cut. Right now, before the season starts, Bryce Underwood may not be known to everyone in NFL spheres. But just a highly recruited player, was committed to LSU and transferred to Michigan, being closer to home, being from Michigan. He was just unreal in high school. I think he only threw 9 touchdowns his whole high school career. He started all 4 years in high school. He threw 152 touchdowns in high school ball, which is crazy. I'm not sure how many games they play in a Michigan high school season, but 152 touchdowns in 4 years is unreal. Physicality, he's a physical freak as well. He reminds, just stature wise, athletically, he reminds me of Michael Penix, who was a great athlete. Knees aside, is a great athlete. And the only thing that concerns me, and it's not a big concern because I think his talent is good enough to rise above it, is just the Michigan offense. That's the only thing that concerns me. They haven't really produced that top tier quarterback, developed a quarterback in recent history. I know JJ McCarthy just went in the first round,
but he didn't have the production that we like
Right.
to see out of some of these guys.
Right. The production wasn't there. The Vikings took him in hopes of developing, and he got hurt his first year, obviously. But yeah, I think Underwood kind of bucks that trend, and he becomes it hurts me to say, I think he becomes really, really good at Michigan.
Yeah. I mean, from what we've seen already, like if you don't know who Bryce Underwood is, you're gonna know after this
Yep.
year. He's slated to start for Michigan this year.
Yep.
I know they brought in somebody, Jake Garcia. I mean, I guess just as a backup. Like I don't know what he's doing on his fourth
Yeah.
college, coming from like ECU. But yeah, Bryce Underwood, man, this is a great pick. I'm excited to see, like you said, a year from now, it's not going to look like it's a very surprising pick at this point. So
Yeah.
All right. Well, at the 106, I picked up the first running back of our draft, and I went with Jeremiyah Love, who is my running back one in next year's draft class. Jeremiyah Love, running back out of Notre Dame, eligible for the 2026 class. Watching Jeremiyah Love last year, especially when we got near the end of the season and in the playoffs, I was enamored with this guy. I mean, he comes in technically, well, they don't have his stats on college football reference, but I believe he's like about 6'1", 215, 220 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
He looks bigger than that. He plays bigger than that. And that's already a pretty big running back. The physicality that Jeremiyah Love brings to the table is like an NFL player already. And you combine the fact that he has the long speed and the explosiveness. We don't have a star-studded running back class next year. There's a couple guys that have been in college for a little bit that we're excited about, but they're not really those superstars. Jeremiyah Love has the potential to build upon the end of last season and become that superstar running back this year. He's a guy that, if Notre Dame continues to play the way they did last year, could be up there in the Heisman votes. Jeremiyah Love is one of the best offensive players, I think, in college football right now, and we're really going to see it this coming year. This last year, 163 carries for 1,125 yards and 17 touchdowns, averaging 6.9 yards per carry. I don't know. Notre Dame is like a really well-known program, but despite that, I feel like a lot of people still don't really know about Jeremiyah Love in NFL circles, despite how well he played this year. They're going to know who he is. He's going to be the RB1. I think he's going to be a first-round pick next year. And we know if you're a first-round pick running back in the NFL, you're pretty darn good.
Yeah. And I just his whole resume, I'm looking on year-to-year stats. I was most impressed to see him add some more pass catching into his repertoire as well. He went from 8 receptions his first year playing to 28 last year, and he got 2 touchdowns as well on that. So it was nice to see him getting more involvement in the passing game too, which again, the more you're on the field, the more you can get fantasy points, which is what we want.
Yeah. And, he's not just that big bruising running back. He's got that agility to him as well. And I think that's why, he's truly like an RB1 for me, and a guy that can be that true playmaker. Not just a 2-down grinder, but a true workhorse who can do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
All right.
I got to go with my RB1.
All right.
At the 107, who honestly, I thought he was going to come out in the 2025 class. I think a lot of people did. And he would have made the RB1 discussion interesting. I don't know if he would have changed it, but he would have made it interesting. And that's Nick Singleton from Penn State. He's just what I know. I've talked about Bryce Underwood and Jeremiah Smith being freak athletes. I think Nick Singleton might be the freak athlete. He's just unreal size, his agility. I know early on a lot of talk about the knock on him was, he's an athlete playing football. He's not a football player. I think he has improved on that. I know James Franklin, the Penn State program, gets knocked for not developing as well as they should, because they get these great athletes in and don't necessarily get the production out of them. I think Nick Singleton is the guy that changes that. He's just unreal. He kind of reminds me of like a Breece Hall, Jonathan Taylor. If you could mold them together, Yeah, I would like to see that. And he has also another guy that has improved his pass catching from year to year. I want to see my guys, my running backs going from college to NFL that do the things, catching passes that keep them on the field as much as possible.
Yep.
And Singleton is willing to do that, has done that. And I'm looking forward to seeing him in next year's draft.
Yeah, Nicholas Singleton's a stud. I'm not quite as high on him as you. I definitely have Jeremiyah Love as my RB1, but I respect it because the athleticism that he has is definitely really, really impressive. Could be the best in the class. And just because he's sharing the backfield with another NFL draft pick, it's hit his production a little bit, but he's absolutely one of the best running backs in college football. So I like it. All right, Hoff. At the 108, I am back to the 2027 class, and I'm picking up DJ Lagway, quarterback for Florida, who had a breakout season last year as a true freshman. Graham Mertz goes down. Florida is falling apart. Billy Napier is about to be fired. It's like everyone knows it's about to happen, and DJ Lagway just brings him out and gets him to an 8-5 season. Billy Napier's back this year. DJ Lagway is ready to go. From what I've heard, he didn't throw all spring with a shoulder injury, but I've heard he's good to go moving forward. So last year in limited play, 60% completion rate, just under 2,000 passing yards, 12 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, but he also ran for 100 yards. And while those stats really don't blow up in your face, what we saw, the flashes from him, it's a little bit of, that LaNorris Sellers. We saw the improvement throughout the year. We saw him get better. And Florida is a good team. They have some good players around him. They have recruited well recently as well with some of those wide receivers they brought in. But this is a guy that we saw improve. And, Florida's a blue blood program. I believe in Billy Napier. And I think DJ Lagway can take that next step this year. And he still has another year of college after that before he gets to the NFL draft. This is also a guy who's got really good stats for his height and weight. He's got a great frame. You talk about someone who, can maybe remind you of Cam Newton. Maybe we're doing a little bit of helmet scouting here because remember Cam Newton did go to Florida. 6'3", 240 pounds. Not quite as tall, but he's got that thick build. He's got a great arm. He's got a cannon. I mean, he can get down the field no problem. So this is a guy that is a little bit of projection, but in these drafts, especially when you're going quarterback, you got to shoot a little bit for the upside because you never know what's going to happen with the quarterbacks. And I'm going to bet on a guy like him who's got all the athleticism, has the situation around him to thrive. And we saw enough last year for me to believe that he can do what we're expecting out of him moving forward.
Yeah, that's a great point about shooting for upside. I go with especially with quarterbacks, the volume shooting, just get as many as you can. Hope for 1 or 2 to hit, maybe 3 if you're lucky. But yeah, it's because things happen, and the NFL isn't known for developing guys.
No.
So your guy may get drafted. He may not get developed if he needs that development. So that's why we're looking for guys that are as developed as they can be to hopefully avoid needing development from a place that is notorious for not developing.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't trust the NFL to develop at this point. I think that's been pretty obvious over the last couple of years. So, I do want someone who's got plenty of experience under their belt, and it looks like DJ Lagway will by the time he comes out. So I'm excited to see how he progresses. You mentioned volume shooting at the quarterback position. Hoff, we picked up so many quarterbacks in this first round, and it's usually against my nature to go quarterback early in Devy because you just never know what's going to happen. But we have some talented quarterbacks in the college ranks right now who all have a lot of NFL potential. Tell me about your next guy at the 109.
Yeah, 109. I just moved from Florida over to Louisiana, and I think he's the best pocket passer in next year's draft. Again, another guy I thought could have come out in the 2025 draft, but he decided to stay another year. That's Garrett Nussmeier from LSU. Just another accurate, mostly accurate. I think he could improve his we could always improve accuracy as quarterbacks. But he has that gunslinger kind of Brett Favre mentality where he trusts his arm a lot. And that is most of the time a good thing. Sometimes not. He did throw 12 interceptions last year, over 4,000 yards and 29 touchdowns, but those 12 interceptions kind of stick out. So if he can pick and choose the times to trust his arm a little better, I would feel a lot better about this pick. But I'm still pretty confident that he will develop even better, even more, and be. I could see him being easily a round one quarterback next year.
Yeah, I see him being a first rounder next year as well. I think he has a chance to be the quarterback one in next year's class. There's some competition for sure in next year's quarterback class, but I could see Garrett Nussmeier being a Saint next year. His dad, Doug Nussmeier, is the offensive coordinator over there, so there's a little bit of a family connection, and he's definitely got the talent to be a first rounder. So. I like this pick a lot. I've actually just picked up Garrett Nussmeier last week in one of my Devy drafts that I was working in. So
nice.
I like this pick. For me at the 110, going back to the 2027 class, I think about close to half of our first round here is from the 2027 class. Cam Coleman, another wide receiver, this one from Auburn, who came in as a highly recruited wide receiver, comes into Auburn, 6'3", 197 pounds. And first week has a great week. Went for over 100 yards, had a touchdown. A little up and down over the course of the rest of the season, but it was Auburn. They were up and down as a program. Peyton Thorne was the transfer quarterback there and did not really impress. Yeah. But Cam Coleman ended up with 37 receptions, 598 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Truly a great true freshman season in the SEC for sure. And there is a lot of talent in that wide receiver room as well. So it's not just him out there. But I think he gets forgotten about, obviously he's not quite on the same level as Jeremiyah Smith and Ryan Williams at this point, but recruiting wise, he was pretty similar to those guys. He goes to Auburn. Now they bring in Jackson Arnold, who should be an improvement over Peyton Thorne. They bring in Eric Singleton from Georgia Tech as well to help him just have another guy on the outside that can really stretch the field. Cam Coleman is someone I'm really excited about, and I think it's a good value right now because he has been overpassed by the other 2 wide receivers in that draft class, but I still think he is solidly in that top 3 from the 2027 class, and can continue to be there with his talent. And if Auburn can be where they want to be with Jackson Arnold, with Hugh Freeze and that offense, I think Cam Coleman, with his size and his frame, his athleticism, can stay up there, be one of the top guys in that class. So picking him up here at the 110, I'm excited to pick up the value I feel like I'm getting with Cam Coleman.
Yeah, if you miss out on Jeremiyah Smith and Ryan Williams, Cam Coleman is not a bad consolation prize at all. He's far and away like the 3rd best in the class. I shouldn't say far and away because I'm going to draft someone else, but he really is. I'm just impressed with his size, and he had his production with, like you said, Peyton Thorne throwing him the ball.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jackson Arnold has to be better, right? Like we hope so. And that Auburn room hopefully allows, because it is crowded, hopefully it allows him to showcase his talents. But Eric Singleton coming in kind of muddies things a little bit, but I'm not doubting Coleman's talent because he is absolutely a talented NFL wide receiver.
Yeah, and despite the ups and downs that we saw throughout the season, he finished the season really strong. Last 3 games of the season against Louisiana Monroe, not the toughest competition. 8 catches, 100 yards, 3 touchdowns, really showed up. And then against Texas A&M, 7 receptions, 128 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then in the Iron Bowl against Alabama, 7 receptions, 78 yards, 1 touchdown. So a really good 3-game stretch to end the season.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for that, I think we'd be talking about Cam Coleman a little bit differently, but he finished the season so strong that he was able to kind of elevate himself back up into that wide receiver 3, 4, 5, depending on who you ask. So still excited about Cam Coleman, but let's go to the 111 here with you, Hoff. Who are you picking up? Spoiler alert, we got another quarterback.
Yeah, shocker. I'm dipping back into the 2028 class, and I'm going with the QB2 he could have been the QB1 in any recent class. And that's Keelon Russell going to Alabama this year. Probably not going to play this year. So I know that's the exact opposite of what I was talking about with Bryce Underwood. But after seeing what Kalen DeBoer did to Michael Penix's career, getting him into the first round after Michael Penix was written off as nothing. I mean, he was completely written off with the injuries, goes to Washington under DeBoer and has a revival and becomes a first round. He's going to be a starting NFL quarterback this year, which is wild. And Keelon Russell is even more, to me, even more impressive than Penix was as a prospect. And he's going to have more talent around him at Alabama. He's probably, like I said, he's probably not going to play this year, but starting next year, maybe some mop-up duty this year, you're going to see flashes of a pretty good quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really excited to see what he can do with Kalen DeBoer, or what DeBoer can do with him, rather.
Yeah.
You talked about Michael Penix. Kalen DeBoer also definitely helped out Jalen Milroe. So, it's a really good coach to be under. You got a really good prospect at the quarterback position. It seems like a marriage that's going to lead to some NFL talent. So I think it's a good pickup here. And at the 112 to finish us off in the first round, I went quarterback again. So we ended up with 7 quarterbacks in this first round, totally against everything I stand for in Devy. But, that's kind of where we stand in the college landscape, I think, at this point. So for the 112, I picked up Cade Klubnik, quarterback out of Clemson, who is in college for one more year. Could have came out this past year, but decided to go back to Clemson. They're championship chasing, and they have a really, really good team this year. This team is kind of like that Michigan team that we saw win the national championship, where everyone just stayed, and they got the chemistry. That's what we're seeing out of Clemson right now. We got some people in the media who have them as the number 1 team of the preseason over the summer after spring. And I'm not sure if they're my number 1, but they're definitely up there. And it's arguable to say that they are. They have a lot of talent on defense, offense. Klubnik, one of the favorites for the Heisman as well. He's a guy that I talk about in my article. I may have him as my quarterback 1, but that is subject to change because I don't really feel good about picking anybody out of that quarterback class yet to be the quarterback 1. But I like his mobility. He's got a good arm. He's a winner, which NFL teams really, really value. And he's won throughout his entire high school career. He beat Quinn Ewers in the Texas State Championship. And he has continued to win at Clemson. From everything I've read, he's one of those guys that just continues to always want to get better. He's got really, really good wide receivers around him this year that should help him thrive and put up the production that could really elevate him to being that quarterback 1 in the draft class. So with his experience, with what he brings to the table, the only knock I have on him is he's a little small. Probably going to come in at 6'1". But hey, Bryce Young had a really good end of the season. I love me some Bryce Young. We'll see how that works out. If Bryce Young doesn't work out, maybe that affects my evaluation of Cade Klubnik. We'll see. He's a little bit bigger than Bryce Young. Bryce Young's pretty small. But yeah, I really like Cade Klubnik. I think it's a little bit of a safer pick here. Maybe not quite the upside, but I've already seen some people compare Klubnik to being the next Bo Nix, who is someone I was really high on before his final season at Oregon. So maybe we can find the same success here with Klubnik.
Yeah, and the last season and this season will be a great chance for Klubnik to show what he's throwing to NFL wide receivers. Clemson's wide receiver room is crazy. Auburn and Clemson both have crazy wide receiver rooms, and Klubnik just feed him. That's all he has to do. He doesn't have to. He could, but he doesn't have to take the game on his back.
Mm-hmm.
And that's. I think that makes things easier for him. That's a great shout for the 112.
Thank you. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and record our second round. Make sure you become a member, become a rewinder if you want to hear who we pick in the second round. I will say there's a lot less quarterbacks in the second round, Hoff. So there's a lot of skill position players. It's going to be pretty fun to talk about. Hope you guys enjoyed this. We want to do some more Devy content, some more sneak peeks at following up, coming up soon, NFL draft classes. So you're going to see more of Hoff and I on the YouTube as well. If you guys want anything, want to learn more about Devy, feel free to reach out to us, put it in the YouTube comments. Let us know what you want to see, what you want to hear from us. And thank you again so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the first round. And until next time, we'll see you guys later.